before we start our today's proceeding, I would like to invite two members of the NTA to lead us in the national anthem. All stand, please.
Forged from the love of liberty in the voice of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean seas, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee, every freedom is finally purpose, and may God bless our nation. Every freedom is finally and may God bless our nation.
I'll ask you all to continue standing, please. You know, we can't do something without starting off with a prayer. And I would like to invite Simone Kisun to lead us into our opening prayer.
Good evening. So as we begin this evening's proceedings, let us just pause for a moment. We've had a very hectic day today. Let's leave behind all the busyness that has gone before us today and just take the moment to recognize the space that you're in. Feel your feet on the ground and just become present in this moment. Take a breath. And in whichever way you are comfortable, join us in prayer by bringing your attention to your heart center, where your truth and God resides. So let us pray. We thank you, Lord, for bringing us safely here this evening as a community of responsible citizens on the same journey despite our many different paths in life. Allow us to be able to grow closer as a group this evening and to nurture the bonds of family and community. Dear Lord, we are gathered here with a common goal of making our country a better and safer one. Instill within each one of us the courage, the sanctity, the know-how, and the ability to make the desired changes a reality by steering us to work from the heart, as the human heart is your temple. We ask you, Lord, to bless this gathering tonight and to enlighten us with the ability to listen as well as to converse. Allow us to listen to each other with open minds and humble hearts. Teach us as a nation to focus less on getting our way and more on loving and respecting each other. As prospective leaders of change, give us the strength to be humble, kind-hearted, and willing to listen to every voice. We thank you, dear Father, for creating each of us with unique gifts and for gifting some with leadership abilities to help guide our country onto the most appropriate path forward, and for the many others who give of their time and positive support. For everyone here this evening, bless our efforts and lead us to peacefully rebuild our beautiful nation. Protect our families from harm, sickness, and discouragement, and grant us, O Lord, the wisdom to lead with heart, to speak with heart, and to work from the heart, as that is where your divine grace resides. Amen. Amen. Aum Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
You all may take your seats. So before we begin, let me introduce myself. I am your host for this evening. My name is Insaf Inaitullah, and I am the Coordinator East for the National Transformation Alliance, the next government of Trinidad and Tobago in 2025. So before we go, I just want to explain how to this evening we're going to go. We had a long day. So I know some of you all may have some questions, and we ask you guys to reserve your questions for the, we have an open session at the end where you all could get up and ask, and your questions will be answered. All right? We only have 6 speakers this evening, right? So sit back and enjoy. And before, I just want to thank everybody who was on the walk today. We had a hard day, we had a good day, we had a productive day, and give yourself a big round of applause for that. So our first speaker is none other than a YNTA, a Youth National Transformation Alliance, right? That's a member of the Youth National Transformation Alliance. She's a mother, she's a nurse, she's also an entrepreneur. She is an advocate for youth to empower youths in this nation. And her dream is to one day see a better future for the youth of Trinidad and Tobago. I bring you none other than Chantal Alexander. Please put your hands together.
Good afternoon, everyone. All protocol observed. My name is Chantal Alexander, and I am the Youth Ambassador for the YNTA, the youth arms for the National Transformation Alliance. Hailing from the community of San Juan, even though I migrated and I am currently living in Mova, I feel so at home here at Point Fortin, because obviously my in-laws are from here. Apart from learning that Point Fortin has some of the most welcoming and the most nicest people here, I also believe that the biggest lesson I acquire and learn here, that the same issues that impact Point Fortin, Cap de Villa, is the same issues that actually impact every community across Trinidad and Tobago. As a mother of a son that attends QRC and a daughter that also attends Bishop Annesty, it worries me every day. How can I keep my kids safe? How can I keep my kids safe? To top the list of that, when you think about it, how can you keep your kids safe? We have crimes. When you talk about crimes, it also have school violence, extortion in classes. Then we have robberies, shooting, murders, and especially on the rise, home invasion. I ask myself every day, how, and what did the people of Trinidad and Tobago do to deserve this? A year ago, when Mr. Gary Griffith, our political leader of the NTA, was controlling the TTPS, I myself, and I believe the majority of Trinidad and Tobago felt safe. The question is today, how can we get back that safe space? That is what I want you all to ask yourself. How can we get back that safe space? Well, you all have the answer to that question. We all know the answer to that question. Of course, the NTA is the way. We are the National Transformation Alliance. And for anyone who are still unsure about the question I just asked, you yourself, do you feel safe? That is the question we need to ask again. Do you feel safe? No. Exactly. Another noticeable impact that this government has, that everything are going up. When I say everything, I mean everything. As a parent, to face the grocery, everything has gone up. Food prices, books, it's like a domino effect. So when one thing go up, everything go up. We talk about gas prices, medicine, and don't talk about a vehicle and car parts. And that is exactly it. That was my next point. And everything has gone up except for salaries. So it makes me wonder, what about the people who are living on minimum wage? How are they coping with the day-to-day life, especially pensioners? Only God knows, I say, only God knows how these people cope day to day. If not, it's by the grace of God. So I just want you all to take a moment and just pause. Imagine you're working for minimum wage. How, in God's grace, are people who are working on minimum wage coping? That is the question today. And speaking of cost of vehicles and parts, on our way here, we actually fell into a pothole. And oh my God, I felt like it was taking us way back to Labrador. Like seriously, I swear we was going way back there. I mean like literally. I mean, I'm joking of course, but the roads everywhere are bad. Everywhere the roads in Trinidad are really, really bad. Imagine we asking our children to go to school, get an education, tertiary education. Some even went as far to get a lot of certificates. And what is the outcome? No jobs. And then they end up unemployed. And even worse, some take a turn to crime. So imagine you went to school for all these years, and then you are unemployed. So the only thing you have to do is a life of crime. I mean, it is sad, but we actually have a way. The NTA, the National Transformation Alliance, is the way. How can we do this to our children? Why would we let this happen to our children? The children is the future. I mean, as I was writing this speech, certain things I wanted to say, but I wanted to keep it short and sweet. While we was on the walk here, I was giving out flyers, and we was like, so while I was explaining that, she was like, well, nothing not going to change. I was like, but you never give us a chance. You never give us a chance. And when I explained it to her, I said, the National Transformation Alliance, we are here to transform. Change is a difference from transform. So we are here to transform. This is why I end my presentation here this evening. I ask the elders in particularly to let go of the racial and the tribal politics. See country over party. I am not anything till I die. You need to see country till party. And I think mere too much in Trinidad and Tobago, we vote on my grandmother was this and my mother was this. I mean, I telling somebody the first time I vote, I didn't even know why I vote. I had to vote for that individual because you have to vote because you cannot live here if you don't vote for these people. So I think we actually need to get rid of tribal politics and vote for country. To the youths of Trinidad and Tobago, I urge you to stay strong. Don't despair. Continue to avoid the life of crime because transformation is coming. But we here, we need to come out in numbers. Don't just ask for change. Be the change. Be the voice and be the change. We are asking for change and still yet we are not coming out in numbers. Numbers are strength. And finally, to all that gather here, I thank you all for giving me the time and giving us the voice. To the National Transformation Alliance, I thank you for giving me the voice again, for sharing, and for giving me the opportunity to at least speak to the youths about the NTA. To the constituency of Point Fortin, I thank you from the National Transformation Alliance. All we ask is that you believe. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chantal. You know, Chantal, I see a bright future for Chantal in the YNTA. And the way she speaks there, she speaks pretty strong, and I know she will guide the youth of YNTA and by extension the youth of Trinidad and Tobago forward in a positive way. Thank you, Chantal, again. You know, she mentioned about the youth in this country, and that is something that I'm very worried about. And last week, there were home invasion in Arang, where is a hot topic right now on the news. I don't know you all heard about. Sure, everybody heard about it, right? I was in my bed sleeping and when I got a call. Someone begging me, someone need help because I'm on the same neighborhood watch group. And when I went on that group, I heard that woman crying and crying and crying for help because her father and her children and her parents and her children was in the house while the bandits was there, and she was hearing her son being beaten by these bandits. She's downstairs and they were upstairs, and she didn't know what to do, and she was crying. And I know when Gary was the commissioner at that time, it would have taken 5 minutes for a police jeep to reach in front of that house. And I know for a fact that those guys will be held right there, and that would have been the end of it. And I know those bandits would have a fear of coming back into Arangwes. We need to get this guy back into office, and we need your help to do so. Our next speaker is another powerful young man. He's a doctor by profession. He is the director of youth progression, and he's also heading the NTA. He's also the latest, most powerful TikToker influencer right now, right? If you all never heard about him, I bring you here now, Dr. Kevin Suran.
Thank you very much, and good night, everyone. A fish who lives in the ocean should never be allowed to make the rules for a land animal. Let me repeat that, and I want you guys to take it in very slowly. A fish who lives in the ocean should never be allowed to make the rules for a land animal. And this is a quote that you won't find in any internet, you won't find it in any books. This is a quote that I have personally coined myself. While we are dealing with the situation with crime in Trinidad and Tobago, we have our leaders that have personal security. While we are dealing with the issue of poor health in Trinidad and Tobago, our current leaders, they would fly to Miami, they would fly to Cuba to get their annual checkups. And I want you to keep that in mind. While we are dealing with a failing education system in Trinidad and Tobago, all the children of our current leaders, they go abroad to foreign universities, as though our university in Trinidad and Tobago is simply not good enough for them. While we are dealing with the issue of unemployment in Trinidad and Tobago, our current leaders make a phone call from a position of authority, and they do what you call a pull string. They pull a string, and they get their people into place. And that is a huge problem that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. You see, it's not the same. It's like they are apples and we are oranges, and this simply cannot continue. For far too long in Trinidad and Tobago, we've had the same group of politicians. They've cycled in power and out of power, almost like they're taking turns. And I want you to imagine something. Imagine that you want to buy a shoe, and you go to a shoe store, and you don't know your size. So you tell the shoe clerk, fit me with a size of shoe that is appropriate for me. And she gives you a size 8.5. And it's too tight. So you tell her, bring another shoe. And she gives you a size 9.5, and that one is too big. You see, that is the exact same situation that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. Would you go ahead and ask back for a size 8.5 or a size 9.5? It simply didn't work. That is our current situation that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I want to share with you a very personal story, something that happened to me in my childhood, and it would resonate with exactly what you guys are going through. When I was 11 years old, I wrote my common entrance exam, and I had passed for the Couva Junior Secondary. At that point in time, I thought I could have done a lot better, but I just went along with wherever life was going to take me. I went to the Couva Junior Secondary, I spent 3 years there, and then I did really well. I went to the Presentation College Chagonas. While at Presentation College Chagonas, I spent 4 years doing my A-levels, O-levels, and A-levels. After I graduated there, I had some passing grades. I applied to the University of the West Indies. I applied to a couple other places, couldn't get in a position to do an advanced degree. And that was a bit concerning for me. So I did the next best thing. At that point in time, your parents are putting pressure on you. You're old enough, get a job, help out the household, or either do some more studies and see if you could do better. And that is a common situation that we all have here in Trinidad and Tobago. So I went to look for a job, and the first place I went to was a place that sells sandwiches in Price Plaza. And they asked you, I wouldn't call the name of the place, obviously, but they asked you if you want honey oat or garlic bread, right? Or Parmesan, and some of you all can do that. And I did the interview. They said I was successful at the interview, but they would have to wait to call me. And when an interviewer tells you that they're going to call you, you could bet your bottom dollar that 90% of the chance is going to be to call you to tell you that you weren't successful. And lo and behold, that is exactly what happened in that situation. So I said, okay. At that point in time, I started to hit the panic button, right? Because I need a job. Why do I need to get out of the house or something? Things need to happen at that point in time, and I'm hitting the panic button. So I said, okay, I will go ahead and I will apply for a second job. So I applied to another ice cream outlet in Valpark. The name of it was TCBY. They no longer have it in Trinidad, but a very small ice cream shop, a quarter the size of this area here. Same thing happened. I will call you, the interviewer said I'll call you, you were successful in the interview. The call I got was simple. The position was taken by somebody else. Now, as you can imagine, as a child, I was probably about 8 years at that age, and I started to have some sleepless nights, because this was something that was on the top of my mind. I need to get a job. I was sitting in panic button. My parents used to say, you shouldn't want something for people that you don't want for yourself. I don't want that situation to happen to anyone of you out here right now. Okay? So one of the questions that I often get asked is, what does the National Transmission Alliance plan to do differently? And this is regards to the unemployment situation in Trinidad and Tobago. So we have in Trinidad and Tobago what I like to term a very educated but jobless society. How many of you all here have children, maybe in secondary school or tertiary school? Take show of hands. And that's a lot. And you may have grandkids as well, right? Or great grand. Some of you. So the education system that we have here, it has changed significantly. It's no longer what it used to be. You could have gotten away with maybe O-levels a couple of years ago. Maybe about 10 years ago you needed A-levels, and now you need 1 or 2 degrees to stand out. And as most of you all may be aware, getting a degree for somebody as young is about $30,000 per year, and it adds up if you have 1 or 2 children as $100,000. So before your child actually gets a job, they are already $100,000, or you are $100,000 in debt, and that's not pleasant. So like any successful business model, it depends on your demand and your supply. And that is what will make it successful. You don't want to produce a product or produce a child with a degree that nobody wants to hire, or there's no market for that area. This is the current situation that we have in Trinidad and Tobago with our jobs. We are producing graduates in a market that is saturated in one field and completely devoid or empty in another. And it's not your fault. It's the people at the top that are supposed to be managing the job flow in Trinidad and Tobago. If it's saturated in one field, they're supposed to be pushing candidates or people into another field, not just allowing it as a free-for-all. And that's what's been happening. So you might ask, well, what does the National Transmission Alliance plan to do to fix this? So one of the many things that we are proposing is something called a population job census. And this is where you have an ongoing survey between the business sector, who is responsible for demand, and academic institutions, who is responsible for your supply. And it means that if there's a continuous communication between both the business sector and the academic sector, that when your child actually graduates, there will be a job waiting for them, and not the other way around. Another idea that I was eager, and very, very eager to get this one off the ground. And as soon as we get into power, that is the first thing that I would like to push. And this is called an online career portal. It's simply a construction and the implementation of an online portal, meaning a website, where it's designed specifically for people who are in the job market, both employers and employees. And it's not something you could be right here, sitting right here, and upload your resume onto online, and you would have an employer look at it and match you for a job and call you for an interview. It's not something that's going to be active. It's something going to be almost passive, if you want to put it that way. This is the beginning of proper planning and development in Trinidad and Tobago as it pertains to education and also employment. I want to leave you all with a very powerful message, and I want you to think about this on your drive home from here today. A wolf will continue to eat the sheep unless stopped, and only a wolf can stop a wolf. Help us to help you. Trust us when we say better days are coming. Believe. My name is Dr. Kevin Saran, and I am the Director of Youth Progression. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saran. You know, Dr. Saran spoke about unemployment, and Chantal spoke about the potholes in the road. And you know, I could link those two together when I was taking a drive up here. And not only in Point Fortin, there are all these communities throughout Trinidad and Tobago that have all these potholes all over the place. And I wonder sometimes, how can a community cry out for unemployment when there are so much things in the community can be done, and the government can employ these young guys, these young people to do? For example, through the regional corporation or through the Ministry of Works and Transport or one of those bodies, why can't we have a constant department or a constant body that's going around looking at the bad roads and getting the hose filled and pitch, especially in this area where the pitch lake is right there? So unemployment is just an excuse. And I'm telling you, under the NTA, unemployment will be a thing of the past. So help us get there. Our next speaker, who needs no introduction, but I'm not seeing him, but I know he's around somewhere. He's a man who sees a bright future for Trinidad and Tobago. And every time I speak to him, I never hear anything negative come out of his mouth. He's not only a member of he's a colleague of the NTA, he's also, I consider him a brother of mine, and all of you will know him by the name Uncle Errol. I bring you to the podium here, or to the stage, the Director of Communication for the National Transformation Alliance, Mr. Errol Fabian.
Just right. Thank you very much, Insaf. Good evening, everybody. It sounded good, but I sound a little hungry. Good evening, everybody. That's what we're talking about. It's good to be here. It's really, really good to be here in Point, because I know most of you know this is my stomping ground. This is where I grew up. Grew up in Gonzales, but from Labre to Chatham, everywhere and everybody house and everything, you know. And it's good to be here. It's always good to be here. I was in Point Thursday night for a live broadcast on the station, but I'm back here now with some very, very serious business. You see, when I grew up in Gonzales, right, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know it had Indian people and African people living in Trinidad and Tobago, you know. I never know that. I never know that. I went to school in San Fernando. I went to Naprima College. I never know you had Indian people and African people living in this country. It's when I reach in town and start to, you know, become aware of politics and all them kind of things. Then is when I find out it have Indian and African people. And that's a very valid thing, eh? Because we do have people from India who made their lives here and their home here, and people from the African continent also who made their home here. But the people responsible for bringing these two magnificent groups of people together are people who didn't want these people to unite. And so they trained us to hate each other. It was the agenda of the minority to split the majority so that they could control them. And they did quite a good job. It's documented. What they set out to do, it has been documented. And in fact, on the 4th day of July, 1962, in the Parliament of the UK, a bill was read for the independence of Trinidad and Tobago, 4th of July. And when it was read, a lot of people had a lot of things to say in that parliament, including backbenchers. And everybody spoke about how promising the island is, because by that time, Trinidad and Tobago was the biggest provider of petrochemicals for the British people, for the Crown, for the Commonwealth. We were the biggest provider of petrochemicals at that time. And everybody spoke about the race issue in Trinidad and Tobago in 1962. And I look around when I read things like that, and I ask myself, has race relations gotten any better in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago? And when I'm on the ground, like we walk in Point today, right? And by the doubles man, didn't only have Indian people. By the cobbler, didn't only have African people. Everybody is everybody on the ground. But somehow, as the election bell rings and we get closer to polling day, Indians and Africans as appear in the country. All of a sudden, we start studying them African people and them Indian people and them and what them go do we and what them go do we. And the people who teach us to hate one another gone already. Why are we making a science out of this hate? Why are we managing and allowing people to set us against each other when the fact is, all are we catching with tail in Trinidad and Tobago? All are we? You understand? All of us paying more for gas at the pump. All of us falling down in pothole. All of us are afraid of home invasions. We are all sitting ducks out here in Trinidad and Tobago. I find it should be made legal that we could wear bulletproof vests. You understand? Because if it's law that we wear seatbelt, and we're just as likely to dead from a bullet statistically as from a vehicular accident, it should be law for us to wear bulletproof vests also. You understand what I'm saying? But no, it's a different thing. And I want to say, when I grew up, now this area is like a time bomb, you know. There are gas lines and crude oil lines and so on running all over, all everywhere. I'm sure those of you who are not from Point would have noticed evacuation routes and so on, because we, the people in Point Fortin, know when the shit hit the fan, the proverbial shit, where we had to drive, where we had to go, how we had to get out and everything. That is something we grew up with living in this part of the country. Yeah? And I want to say that, you know, with all of this, this place, Point Fortin, this southwestern peninsula of this island, has been in the fore of industry from time immemorial. The first place in Trinidad and Tobago, the first community in Trinidad and Tobago to have electricity in homes was La Brea because of the pitch lake industry on the southwest peninsula. Then, of course, the backfill and created Point Fortin and the refinery, and now all the LNG and everything is happening here. But the people are still crying and pleading and begging. You know how long we wait for a hospital in Point Fortin? Oh, good! And what we're waiting longer for is a highway. And so many parts of that highway has been completed, and they would not open it to make people's life a little easy. Just make our life a little easy now. But there's a way of politics in Trinidad and Tobago where they pressure you, and then give you a little something, and you're like, oh gosh, thanks, you know. But those days are gone. We're in a new time. We could see, we could talk, we could ask a question. And I look at the young faces here, and you know, I feel guilty. I go and talk to young people twice a month, every year, for at least 30 years now of my life. Schools, youth groups, the CCC, different places. And I see young people, and I want to say that I'm feeling ashamed. I'm not proud of the land that we're handing over to you. But I look into you, young people, to save us. I look into you to bring this unity. I look into you to bring this sense in governance. I look into you to bring all of the bright ideas that you have into being to help save our land. We need you to save us. Oil and petrochemicals have traditionally been the economic hub in Trinidad and Tobago, traditionally. And I have seen a shift, you know, with the closure of Petrotrin and so many other things happening in the energy sector. I have seen a shift. The economic hub in Trinidad and Tobago has become crime. Everybody eating a food off a crime. The hardware owners, welders, you name it, doctors, lawyers, you name them. everybody eating a food off a crime. We have more security companies per capita, I feel, in Trinidad and Tobago than anywhere else in the world. You can't have anything without making sure we have security. Yeah? And if crime continues to be an economic hub, we stuck. We ain't going nowhere. It will never change. So in comes the National Transformation Alliance, because we're talking transformation. We're talking about finding new economic hubs. We're talking about bringing people together. You know, I'm an unapologetic independent, you know. I never joined no political party in my life. I'm 63 years old this year. And this man here, Gary Griffith, has gotten my attention and has gotten my support. And he has my support, and I'll tell you why he has my support. Because right now, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, if we are to move forward and to move away from this crime economic hub, we need somebody who could make hard decisions and somebody who knows to pull a team around them to make those decisions. Somebody who's comfortable with not being popular. Yeah? Somebody who's comfortable with being popular for being unpopular. And when I look around, Gary Griffith, sir, you fit that description. You fit that description. And I don't expect anything but the best coming out of you and the team that you're pulling together, which I'm very happy to be a part of. I don't expect anything less than the best. I expect that we're going to break eggs to make this omelette. I expect that we're going to mash toast to get to where we have to go. I expect that people will get vexed with you and vexed with anybody in a blue jersey. If that's not happening, something wrong. If they're not vexed with the NTA, then the NTA not doing what it's supposed to be doing, because it's unpopular what has to happen in Trinidad and Tobago for us to get to where we need to get to. Some very unpopular things have to happen. I remember when the ANR was in office and they introduced VAT. Oh gosh! Did we have two parties in opposition who spoke out against it vehemently? Today, both parties have been in office and we still paying VAT. Talk, I said a talk. I don't like, I talk plenty, I talk for a living, but I can't deal with old talk. You see, old talk, and not about that. If you say go in and do something, Gary, I expect you to deliver on that, and I am here to work with you and the team so that we could deliver on what we say we're going to do. I done with the old talk. I want some action. My name is Errol Fabian. God bless you all. Welcome to Point Fortin. Just right.
Well, you know things had to be serious when Errol not joking, right? So, I was talking about library coming up here just now there. And for years that we know, because of the pitch lake and how the earth moves, you know, sometimes you go to work in the morning and come back and see your house on the next part of the land, right? And that is something you can't get away from because that is how the pitch works. But then we have other parts of the country, right? Trinidad and Tobago is made up, the geographics across this country is different. From Caranage to Toko to Manzalina to Cedros, right, Central. And you find that you have contractors right now who is paving roads years beyond years. We have same contractors over and over paving roads, and they're using the same methods throughout the country, and the road not lasting more than 5 years. You're giving your election period time. But that need to be done because it's your money being spent. You all know that you all spent $12 million to put a dirt road in Manzalina. And that same road today, you need a 4x4 to drive on, because if you try to drive on it, guess what happens? You're mashing up your cradle, your tire bursting, right? This needs to be done. The friend contractings need to be done, right? The people who had to get $1 million for something that you could pay $200,000 for, that needs to be done. You need to get value for your money. And I could tell you, under the NTA, that is going to happen, because there is something called the LAMP model, and I'm sure the political leader will talk about that, because he ain't playing, right? You ever hear the term he used, putting square pegs in wrong hole? This is something he lived by. And if you look at the lineup of the executives within the NTA, everybody holds a particular portfolio. If they're not a doctor, they're environmentalists. If they're not environmentalists, they're tourism. If it's not so, they're in construction. But everybody holds a position is not because I'm a friend, right? Before I joined NTA, I wasn't going to be in politics. Politics is something I don't like. But when Gary formed NTA, I decided that I cannot sit down behind my computer and be a computer warrior. I need to be here. I need to make a difference, and I need to make a difference for the future of this country. And that is what I'm here for, and we are asking the youths to help us do that. So, let me keep back the meter more. So the next speaker was not supposed to speak on the stage tonight, but I would like to ask her to come up. She will not, I know she will not appreciate how I'm going to introduce her now, but the NTA consider her the Michelle Obama of Trinidad and Tobago. I would like, she's an ambassador for empowerment, the women empowerment. She's a very, very powerful speaker. Matter of fact, every time she speaks, she gets my attention. I bring to you today, to the stage, the beautiful Nicole Gaia Griffith.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm just Nicole. Nicole is good enough. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And good evening to those who would be viewing us live. And before I begin, a few words. I'd just like to thank those who were responsible for this day's events. I think it was extraordinarily successful in that we managed to turn the whole town upside down and blue today. Everywhere we went in Point Fortin. So thank you very much to Kathleen, to Darren, to Hubert, to my beautiful lady friend here, and to everyone who had a part to play in making today a very successful day. I'm very pleased that this could have taken place. Now, we've had exceptional speakers before, and they have shared really good information with you. And we can stand here and talk from now until thy kingdom come about all the wonderful plans, policies, programs that the National Transformation Alliance can do. In fact, I used to be part of a political organization called the CUP. There are some CUP people here. So that you all know that you can have the best plans, the best policies, the best spokespersons. And at the end of the day, you walk around shaking hands and everybody say, I like you, I support you. And when they go in the ballot box, it's something else. So that when that happened, at that point in time, I represented COP in 2007 and 2010. 2014, we were with the People's Partnership. And after that, I said, that's it. I've had it. Because if it is, I can't take at face value that you say I am supporting you. And when I turn my back, so you're supporting somebody else, well, then what's the point? If at this point in time, we are at a critical state in our nation, critical. It is not funny, it's not playing games, it's not all the nice things. I'm here to say what is happening. I'm here to be real with you. I don't have to go down the litany of woes of what's happening. We all know what's happening. We all know about crime, we all know about lack of opportunities, we all know about criminality, we all know about lack of housing, we all know the issues, right? We know we are in an unofficial state of emergency. Yeah? Are we in an unofficial state of emergency? Yes. We don't need the president to sound a proclamation to say that you are in a state of emergency, because every time before we contemplate leaving our homes, we have to think, should I? Could I? Is it safe? Do I know somebody to go into? Every time you stand waiting for a taxi, you have to be looking around, holding your bag. So every time you go to the groceries, you can't afford to purchase things that you could or may have been able to afford 2 weeks ago. And that is just two areas. We are in an unofficial state of emergency. And if we do not make up our minds to do something now, then we might as well just all decide to just lay it all flat and allow whatever to take place, and just say, when is my turn? I'm ready to go. I am not prepared to do that. Are you? I am not prepared to do that. Are you? No. So therefore, if we're not prepared to just lie fallow and allow the populace and allow the powers that be to run rings around us and to do as they please, when they please, and how they please, what are we prepared to do? Now, I'm speaking to the converted, because for those of you who are listening online, we have a pact tall of persons in blue jerseys in NTA and Point Fortin. That's why NTA is Point Fortin. So the people who say this is PNM area and that is PNM area, it have no area that is PNM area. There is no area that is UNC area. There are areas that belong to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and it is for them to choose whomsoever they would like to support. Yep. So let's be clear on that. So I'm speaking to the converted, but what I need the converted to do is to get up, stand up, and believe. Once you do that, then it gives you the impetus to do the work to make things happen. It's not going to happen just like that. People love Gary Griffith. We've been all over Trinidad and Tobago so far, and everybody wants a picture with Gary Griffith. They want this, they want that. Gary Griffith can get the job done. And it's not because I'm married to him why I'm saying this to you. I believe he can get the job done. He got it done when he was a minister. He got it done when he was commissioner. He got it done when he was national security advisor. And he can get it done as prime minister of this country. I make no apologies for that. And Gary Griffith has me standing at his side. Yeah? So that in and of itself speaks volumes. And then one of the things that he speaks over and over is he's not afraid to be the dumbest person in the room. Whenever you are prepared to set your ego aside and to say that I need to have the best and the brightest to be around me to ensure we are in the right direction, people who are unafraid to not oppose me, then that is somebody that you take cognizance of, and you say, okay, that person has leadership value. But then you know that. So we have the best person in a political leader. We have the best people around us in teams. When you look at the faces that support the National Transformation Alliance, it's young people, young faces, people who have never participated in the political process. That speaks volumes. So therefore, when you add the value of the young people, you add the value of the political leader, you add the value of the team, we can make the transformation. But in order to make the transformation, we must get up, stand up, and believe, or else it will not happen. And in order for us to get up, stand up, and believe, we must be committed. I met someone who has been following the NTA all over. Every place we've been to, this gentleman pops up. You see him there, you see him taking pictures, and then he'll tag me on a Facebook page. His name is Shane, and you may have heard of his construction company. It's called Builder Boys Construction. A youthful gentleman. And the reason why I choose to highlight this youthful gentleman is not, he's someone who you may not necessarily link or liken to political partisanship or being involved in politics. But his politics is not just political politics, or it's not politics for the sake of party politics, it's the politics of the people. Because his love for people has led him to service, which is something that Gary speaks of all the time. It's about service. So therefore, he feels that there is some alignment between what the political leader of the NTA, the people of the NTA share, and what he sees as a future he wants, not only for himself, but for his children, for his partners. And guess what he did? He got up, he stood up, and he believed, and he's working, and he is doing, and he is supporting, and he is promoting, and that is what we need to do, each one of us in our own way. It is not going to happen any other way. We must commit to believing. We must commit to understanding. We must commit to wanting the change, or else it is not going to happen. And ladies and gentlemen, the current trajectory of Trinidad and Tobago means that we are probably not going to have a country that we recognize in a year's time if we continue along this pathway. So therefore, we are not fighting for the next election. We are fighting for the next generation. And we must understand this fight means that this time we must take a stand, because if we don't do it now, we will not have another chance. This is it. So therefore, I end with an affirmation that I need you to assure me that this is what we're going to do, because I told you I like Alex twice already, and I'm not in this thing to get Alex at a time. So that if we're doing it, I need to know that when I do so, this time, people are behind me, and I believe them, they believe in me, and we're doing it together. So we must get up. We must stand up. We must believe, and we must do the work. So let's try it now. Get up. Get up. Stand up. believe, and do the work. We must get up. We must stand up. We must and do the work. Thank you.
And I tell her, she's catch my attention every time she go behind a mic. Very, very, very powerful speaker. Please give her another round of applause. One of the things that I'm concerned about is, I mean, we keep talking about the youths, right? But do you know how many youths in this country don't see Trinidad and Tobago as their future homes? Do you know how many youths, they tell themselves, when I finish school, I'm jumping in a plane and I'm going to New York, and I'm jumping in a plane and I'm going to Canada, and I'm jumping in a plane and I'm going somewhere? How many of you inside here think like that before? Tell me, show me your hands. Now, this is where your ancestors came and they worked and they built this country. Why must we run? Why must we run to build another man country? Why? Because some people come here and they feel they could put a gun by your head and take what you have? No, we need to stand up for that. When we stand up and we put a voice and we put our fingers by the right symbol, come 2025, we will show how we're going to change this country. And everybody who leaves Trinidad and Tobago to go to Canada and New York and all these first world countries is going to come right back here because we're going to build a future for them. But we need you guys to do it for us. You all in? Yeah. Thank you. PDD 2035. Yeah, okay, that's... Right, so our next speaker, I have a little bit here to read, right? So our next speaker has 38 years in the tourism sector or experience, and while doing that, she has 35 years in counseling. Ms. Pushet served as the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Incoming Tours Operators Association. I got that right, right? She's also specialized in trauma counseling and inner child healing. She is a former chairman of the NCC and a former director of NEDCO. Get that correct? She's happily married with 4 kids and 3 beautiful grandkids. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you another beautiful woman, Ms. Lauren Pushet.
Good evening, everybody. You know, somebody just mentioned to me, they set you up. I say they always set me up. They always put me between Nicole and Gary. Just because I'm one of the deputy political leaders of the National Transformation Alliance. But that's okay. That's okay, because we just honor and appreciate the skills and the gifts that each and every person can bring to the National Transformation Alliance. I just love to hear Nicole speak, and she always gives me a little nugget that I can start off my talk with. So thank you, wonderful. And to all the other speakers before, let's give them a round of applause. The youth speaker I was especially impressed with, because I think it may have been one of her first speeches, and you have far to go, young lady. You have far to go, okay? So, Nicole said something that really resonated with me, and it's just a few words. Change begins with me. Where does change begin? With me. But we have been, because of the days of slavery, because of how we came through the ranks and file of the indentured labor, of the slave trade, we still believe that somebody else has to change things for us. That's not going to happen this time around. Not this time around. And when Nicole said that there is no more time, I am telling you, because I am a counselor, because I'm an original pain therapist, because I am dealing with people and families and marriages that are in trauma and pain, because of what is happening in our country, we don't have time. We really do not have time. We believe that we are in a democracy. We are not in a democracy. We are in a dictatorship. And you must not sit down there and don't listen to the news. You must not sit down there and don't read the papers. You must learn how to connect the dots. You must dig beneath all the diatribe and all the talks that you are hearing from people who are supposed to be seeking your interests and understanding that they are using you to get what they want and to what they think they are owed. Okay? When we're talking about all this money this country is spending, whose money do you think it is? It's yours. It's yours. But they make us believe that we're spending theirs. And we take it, we swallow it wholesale. So let me get to my prepared speech, and I'll fill in a few things in between, okay? And I'm really very pleased to be here to address you all. Now, they spoke about my involvement in tourism and the cultural sectors. And I really got involved in that through my husband's business. He has a tourism company, a tour company. I had nothing to do with that in the beginning, but I got involved. You know, we women always have to do the background work, the accounts, the letters, the getting the things off the ground, and so on. And I got involved and quite liked the way of giving service to people to bring them joy, because that's what tourism is supposed to do. But at the same time, just a little bit after that, I got involved in this counseling process, this inner child healing, this looking at what trauma does to us in our lives, how it affects us, how it causes problems in our relationships, how it causes us not to fulfill the purpose that we were created to be. And we have all been created for a purpose. Don't feel your hair like rubbish. You have a purpose in this life. Try to find your purpose. And my husband knows, he's here in the audience, that if I had a choice, I always tell him, you'll have to get somebody else to help you in the office, because I am going to choose my counseling practice over your business if I had to have a choice of what I am going to do. Why is that? Because it helps to transform people's lives. It helps to transform people's lives once we help them to deal with their original pain and their trauma. And that word transformation in the National Transformation Alliance really spoke to me. Because what this organization is about, under the leadership of Gary, with that powerhouse of a woman next to him, is to transform Trinidad and Tobago to what we are supposed to be. This country, there is too much, what did that gentleman call us? The rainbow country? What was his name again? Desmond Tutu, okay? People see all the wealth and the value and the gifts and the talents that we have. A country of 1.4 million people. You know how many of our people are recognized internationally for music, in athletics, in every sphere. We have a young woman who's a scientist up in the North Pole who's now getting all kinds of awards for her work in science. And we haven't touched the tip of the iceberg. In this area of Point Fortin, you know probably how many gifted people you have here, but they have not been given the opportunity because we are not spending the money in this country where it is supposed to be spent. Okay? Where are we now? In the community center? Why is it so small? This is a big area. Well, 50 years old. And we have, this could be a hub for young people to come and to learn and to develop and to progress. Why is that not happening? Because they're so sure that Point Fortin is to go vote a particular way. Well, they better not be sure after today. Right? So, as a result of my involvement in the tourism and cultural sectors, I have had cause to visit Labray at least many, many times because of the way we carry people to see that tourism site. It's a site that everybody wants to see when they come here. And I've really never had the opportunity to visit Point Fortin as often. I will tell you I visited here for Borough Day several times, because I'm married to a man who have hot foot and he like to go everywhere to have culture and thing, you know. So of course I have to go and support that cause. And when I was, Insaf spoke about me being chairman of the National Carnival Commission. When I was the chairman there, I always used to use Point Fortin's Borough Day as an example of what we should be encouraging various constituencies and organizations to do. Okay? And, you know, Insaf also spoke about this being the hub of the economic driver of Trinidad and Tobago. And Point Fortin has been an integral part of the Southland in doing that. But for me, my admiration for the people of Point Fortin is the high regard, and my high regard for them really has always been rooted in the fact that they are intelligent, they are gifted, and they are proud people. Okay? They are leaders and not followers. And all my interactions with them, I have always been treated welcome and with kindness. You know, and that's a very important part. You know, we'll be in a group of people and somebody will just say something and you could say, "You from South?" And they will say, "How you know that?" "Just the way you speak to me, just the way you approach me." It's a difference between North and South, you know. I mean, I'm in North, but I'm telling you, South people have a different attitude, very welcoming, respectful attitude, which is something that I think would be nice if that could be emulated all over Trinidad and Tobago. Now, we've had Calypsonians, as I said, all these people have come from here, but we have our very own wife of the political leader who has a lot of roots in Point Fortin. Not so? Yes. Right, good. We can see that from the welcome and from how her mom, everybody seems to know her mom, right? Now, and Nicole, whilst we call her a powerhouse, because she speaks very eloquently, Nicole is known throughout this country as somebody who gives service. When you hear the name Nicole Diane Griffith, you think, yeah, powerhouse, but service. O2N Foundation, Diabetic Association, we can go on and on and on. And it's only when you can give of yourself that you're going to see results in the end. She said she's lost twice, she ain't gonna lose a third time. She's not gonna lose a third time. And we have to make sure that doesn't happen. Eh? You want her here? Well, you're gonna have to do what she says. Don't just talk. Stand up, walk the walk, walk the talk. So, we need to know that NTA is founded on the premise that our citizens need to be treated with respect. We need to listen and to collaborate with you to determine your needs and the best way of ensuring that those needs are met. What we have right now is people talking down to us and telling us what they think we should have. But we are living the life. We in the communities, we in the constituencies, we know what we need. And therefore, it is incumbent upon the NTA to have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as we speak. Be able to hear you and to truly understand what you need. We know that you all have been, you know, economically disseminated, if you want to put it that way, where we have lost so many jobs and there's so much unemployment. But we want you all to start thinking about what you would like to see for your community. Because mark my words, NTA is going to be in government in 2025. So you need to start thinking about what you would like us to do for you. You understand what I'm saying? And we can even fix that better than that, what we can do together for the people of this area, for the people of Point Fortin. But it is only possible, as Nicole said, if you partner with us. We can have all the great ideas, but if you don't partner with us and do your part, we're not going to get anywhere. We need to have you, we need to have that opportunity to lead our nation back to the paradise that we were once known for, and we need to collectively take action and make this a reality. Now, you all face many challenges here. Lack of employment, as I said, horrendous crime, which everybody is going to be talking about or has spoken about. And I want to tell you all something. We are a nation in trauma and a nation in fear. A nation in fear, a nation in trauma. What that makes, what does that do to us? It almost immobilizes us. We can't move. When you're traumatized, you don't know what to do. But you have the NTA here to guide you. Lighthouse, you have us here to guide you. So let us get together and move forward. Families are, my concern really is the family system. The first speaker spoke about her daughter, her son, and so on. Families are under heightened stress. They are under heightened stress. Any of you all here belong to a family that is under heightened stress? Yeah? How we paying the rent, how we paying the light bill, how we paying the water bill, how we paying the loan for the car. Right. And many families don't even know where the next meal is coming from or how to equip their children to go to school. These are the realities of life. And when I hear a government official saying that we have zero unemployment, I want to know if you live in Mars. Because it can't be on this earth, and it certainly can't be in Trinidad and Tobago. Because we just have to drive through certain parts of this country to understand what the employment rate really is. How many of you all have friends who never would have asked you for a cent before? Now asking you for a little, give me a little blue till next week now. How many of us? And be surprised. But don't be surprised, okay? The NTA, and let me end here because I know we have the political leaders to speak and you already want to hear him. But I'll say by ending that with your help, we, the NTA, covenants with the people of Point Fortin to listen, to collaborate, to create an enabling environment to make Point Fortin a community that each and every one of you will be proud of. We ask that you believe as we do that great leadership is founded in service. The service attitude is very evident in the approach and results achieved by our political leader, Mr. Gary Griffith, in the several public positions that he has served and relative to the safety and security of each and every citizen of this country. Safety and is not only about crime, it's about being able to eat, it's about being able to sleep, it's about being able to pay your bills, it's about being able to walk outside and just lie with your neighbor. Safety and security encompasses a lot of things. The main focus right now is crime, but the NTA is going to look at each and every aspect of your safety and security. As Gary has been building a cadre of people around him who are very experienced in various areas. And I'll tell you, if somebody said that he doesn't listen, yes, he listens. It's not when I talk, no dog bark, and it's not when I say something, you jump and don't question me. And that is what a good leader is. He leads, he empowers his team around him, and he commits to giving service to each and every person that he's in charge of, and that is what he's going to do for the people of Trinidad and Tobago through the National Transformation Alliance. I thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. You know, when Gary was commissioner of police, I will share this with all, right? No, I didn't know him at that time. And, you know, I used to be so, like now, when I'm home, I'm fearful when I'm home. I'm in Barataria. And, you know, Mover, Beatum, Arangwes, around. And there's a lot of crime going on. So sometimes you're very fearful. Your door's locked, the alarm on, but you're still frightened. But you know when Gary was commissioner, this is no lie. If I forget to put on my seatbelt, I should see the screen popping up in my mind a few moments later. And I swear Gary did to give me a ticket or something. That is the kind of repetition he had because you know that you had a fear that you have to abide by the law. You can't play the fool. And you know, a lot of people didn't appreciate that then, but I'm sure they appreciate that now because what is taking place. We have a commissioner of police now who said, what she said, that we need divine intervention to solve the murder. That's a plan for June, right? That we see what's going to happen there. And we have a Minister of National Security who said it's not his responsibility to keep the people of Trinidad and Tobago safe and secure. But I could tell you that under the NTA, that can't happen, and nobody can say that because that guy there will tell you, hit the door, because if you don't want to work, this is not where you have to be. So our next speaker is someone we have all been waiting here. I know he's tired because he has been walking through the streets of Point Fortin for the entire day. He's one of the best Minister of National Security I have known. He's one of the best Commissioner of Police I have known. He has also served as the advisor to the Prime Minister at the time. I bring you here, brothers and sisters, to this podium, Mr. Gary Griffith, the political leader of the NTA and the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago 2025.
No music.
I kept going though. All I can say is I told you. Jury in the back now in the bar. You should have never doubted me. I'm gonna bring to the land.
Good evening, Point Fortin. I just left. Good evening, Point Fortin, to the members of the governance team, other members of the NTA, and to those persons who are still assessing us to ascertain whether it is you want to be part of this. The reason I stopped that song right there, that was the part where it said, you never should have doubted me. There's always this perception that when someone reach somewhere, that is where it is stopped. I continued throughout my life to be a patriot for this country. And that patriot went from spending 17 years in the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, then be the National Security Advisor, the Minister of National Security, the Commissioner of Police. And everything that I have done is simply not to lead, but to serve. And that is what this is all about. This is about transformation. This word right here, you see, that is what we are going to do. We are going to transform Trinidad and Tobago. If you look right now in this room, on most political meetings, you will be seeing, and nothing wrong with elderly people, but it is usually individuals who would get paid a little $150, and then if a prime minister starts speaking about lice in people's head, they'll be going, ga, 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 ga. That is a renter crowd. What you're looking at, this is the first time that I could ever see that you're seeing the majority of persons in a political meeting being under 30 years old. And that says a lot. That youth vote is going to be so important in the next 18 odd months. And the reason I say that is that you usually get about, 15, 20,000 persons who turn from 17 to 18. That makes them eligible to vote. The last time you had a choice other than ketchup or mustard would have been 2007 with the Congress of the People. Take that into 2025. So take that 18 odd years, multiply that by 15,000 persons. You're looking at arguably 300,000 persons who are now going to get a choice, a different choice. And it is nothing against the PNM or the UNC. That is where we would be different. You're not going to hear from me the nastiness, the bitterness, the arrogance, the hatred, and then to have you all laughing when it is you try to discredit people. That serves no purpose. We have gone through this. Errol hit it on the head when he spoke about politics is one where you deliberately try to divide the country for your own political gain. So what we have seen for the last few years is hatred, bitterness, arrogance, destruction, division. We intend to unite, to build, to try to make this place more productive. And those are the type of people we want on board. I also do not like yes people. I have seen it constantly when it is a leader will say something and everyone will follow because of fear, because they want to keep their work. And that is what I have done. When I was National Security Advisor, when I was Minister of National Security and Commissioner of Police, I wanted to ensure that I had the best persons around me, not yes people. Because when you have yes people, the leader is going to make a mistake. I am not perfect. I would make mistakes, and I will continue to make mistakes. But when you have strong-minded people around you, and that is what I want to have the best persons in the country to turn and transform Trinidad and Tobago. That could only be done if you were prepared to be bold and to state, listen, this is wrong. And it has never been done in the last few decades, because every time a political party gets into government, arguably they will have about 35% of the voting population. And when that happens, it means 65% of those persons who have the capability to be able to build Trinidad and Tobago, you are now pulled to the side. Because you are never a PNM, so you can't be on a state board, you can't be a minister, you can't be a senator, or vice versa. And that can't be right, because now you have lost 65% of your greatest resource that can build a country, that human resource, because your party card becomes the critical factor to give you the eligibility to state, listen, this is what will allow you now to serve a country. I have no intention to go down that road. And I ask you all to work with me and believe on this. This is not a fact that, okay, if we are all NTA members, so all of us going to get a nice little cushion. This is what happens. We have members, 95% of the persons on state boards do not have a clue pertaining to the board that they're in. When you are clueless, it means you're going to be non-productive. And that is where we have lost hundreds of millions of dollars a month because of incompetence, because persons are appointed to something known as state boards, hundreds upon hundreds of persons, because of the party card that they had, because they were instrumental in pulling the chair for the political leader during meetings, because they would then give a little thing on the side to help finance Balize House or whatever, it was 500 million. That can't be the reason and the justification for you to have strategic positions to develop Trinidad and Tobago. It could never be developed. And therein lies the difference between myself and Keith Rowley. Keith Rowley, because of his personality, he will never swallow his pride to say, look, I made a mistake. And by me making that mistake, the country is drowning in blood. And let me say, okay, so we've tried everything, we've tried everyone. I tried to interfere with a process. There were 2 commissioners of police who obviously have failed. I have a minister of national security who doesn't even know his job. He doesn't know his role and function. He says he's not responsible for safety of the country. He said that he is not involved and responsible for anti-crime plans. And instead of you being mature, Keith Rowley will never have that maturity to say, I have made a mistake and let me do what is good for the country. I could tell you on my side, if and when I'm in a position of authority to serve, not to lead, to serve, and I'm in that position of authority, and say, for example, we need something important as it pertains to geology, because Keith Rowley is a geologist. So his training, whereas my training and qualification is to save lives, law enforcement, protecting people, building and developing the police service, Keith Rowley's experience is to massage stones. I'm talking about geology-wise. So that is so he's good in looking at the texture, stones, and feeling it and massaging it. And that is his job. But so if there's something pertaining to him being a geologist, and he's the best geologist that knows how to look at the texture of stones, I will hire Keith Rowley. Because I am not going to sideline him because of the fact that he is not a member of the NTA. And therein lies the difference of political maturity. We have gone through this for so long. I am going through a journey, and this journey is going to be non-stop. You are not going to see a situation where, when last have you seen a political party in full operational political mode 18 odd months before general election? What they're going to do, they're going to turn up here, and they're going to turn just about a few months before the election and beg for your votes. We have hit the ground running, and this is not stopping. You know, one of my favorite shows was Forrest Gump. If you remember Forrest Gump, when he started off and he just started walking and running, and people started following him because they believed in him. The difference with this Forrest Gump is that I'm not going to be in a position where all of a sudden, remember, he just stopped and he turned away and just started walking away. I am not going to walk away. I am not going to abandon my country. I am going to be here and I'm going to serve the country, and I ask each and every one of you all to do the same. When we look at simple things, people believe that my only ability is national security. It is not. It goes back with this word, transformation. The most difficult service to transform was the police service because of decades of because of the officers, but because of lack of leadership. When I took over the police service, public trust and confidence was 14%. 1-4. It was the least trusted. The same police officers, the same police service, in 3 years, it rose to 55% public trust and confidence. It became the highest and most trusted of all arms of the public sector. And it was the same officers. It is probably less than 10%, and it has nothing to do with the officers. It has to do with leadership. It has to do with motivation. It has to do with lifting morale. It has to do with letting people, which is a powerful word in this party, for people to believe. We built trust and confidence, and we got each and every police officer to want to go out there and perform. Not one police officer was absent during the period during COVID, but we lost 30 lives. 30 officers lost their lives because they kept coming out there to serve the country, to protect the country. And they went back home and they could have put the lives of their family at risk. But what did Keith Rowley do? Not even a thank you, not a medal, but he gave it to 4 persons who every week they will come and sit down and tell you, you need to keep your mask on and to have social distancing. And that is what he has done. So, unfortunately, the morale in the police will be lost. But these are individuals who will put their lives on the line for the country. And the opportunity that I would get now, Keith Rowley has given me something that is excellent. It's not just now that I will be able to transform the police service. It will allow me the opportunity to transform the prison service, the fire services, and not have a situation where you'll have 3 fire tenders in one station and another one will have 0, and then when it is that people are killed, you will say, well, the fire service, the vehicles have to be repaired. It shows incompetence. It shows lack of understanding in something known as preventative maintenance. Because in the same situation, again, going back to the police service, when it says people did not see vehicles, I understood the importance of preventative maintenance. And that is why the one criticism I had as Commissioner of Police is people claimed that they were seeing too many blue lights. They were seeing too many police vehicles. You're not seeing it again, and it's no fault of the officers. It has to do with lack of leadership. And we have those principles: leadership, accountability, management, and measurement of performance. Those same 4 principles that transform the police service, I give the country the assurance we are going to transform each and every arm in the public sector to give you the service that you desire. And going back to what I spoke about, I just want to divert because we speak a lot about security. And yes, it is true. That is your most fundamental right. Crime, when I became commissioner, was the #1 concern. When I left, it became the #4 concern behind health, education, and the economy. But there are so many things that we can change, we can fix. And again, going back to what I speak about with youth, that 300,000, they are not, this is a PNM house or a UNC house, so mommy and daddy is going to tell me what to do. No. They have all these little fancy things in their ears, they listen, they hear what the NTA has to say, and say, hey, that sounds good. And now they're educating their parents. Mommy, daddy, being a PNM or UNC or ABC or XYZ till you're dead. Blind political loyalty could never help you. Blind loyalty is like myself who will always support Manchester United, and 10 years are still suffering and waiting for a trophy, a big trophy. That is where I have blind loyalty, not for politics. Because politics, being blind to have, it is no longer a culture. It is a cult where you feel that I don't care. I have to support this party till I die. That serves no purpose. And then when we go back to these same youths, what we have seen, even there's a certain situation that this country is not aware of. It is something known as ADHD. 7% of young people have ADHD. And ADHD is nothing that is wrong. It's nothing that makes you a failure unless you have the improper guidance by those who are ignorant in understanding it. Trinidad and Tobago is ignorant in understanding it. Because some of the greatest leaders in the world, some of the greatest sportsmen, some of the greatest persons in the economy, in health, they find that specialty and they hold on to it. And it makes them a success. But because 7%, which means arguably, if we have 14 young people here, 1 person here has ADHD. And let me tell you what ADHD could do. ADHD is one where it is that you can lose focus easily for something that will bore you. You have to keep on the move. And children in this country, when you get that, the first thing our teachers will do, because of their lack of training, is to say what? You're mischievous, you're spoiled, you're troublesome, you can't keep up. And they keep going ahead and leave them behind. And when you leave them behind, they can now become troublemakers. You know who's the prime person in this country that was rated as having ADHD? He's on the platform right now. I am. But the thing about it is that I found my specialty. And my specialty had to do with national security and even sport. Because I've played sport, I've represented my country for over a decade. And I know my specialty, again, being ADHD, is about this. It's about this: alliance, transformation, teamwork, getting the job done, success. And that is what I intend to do. So going back to education, if we have an education system that is so backward, because in North America, they understand that, they pinpoint the individuals and they work on that, and they find the specialty of those individuals, and that, bam, that's what you call a developed country. Our teachers are not even trained, but we speak about all sort of nonsense about the education system. And that is where we will be going at. We will be looking at all of the shortcomings we have seen in this country from day one, and look at it, pinpoint, and get the best persons available. I do not care what political party you have. I do not care if you voted against us. The game plan is to get the best minds available in every arm that is required to turn around Trinidad and Tobago. And I ask you to work with me on this. This is not about us seeing what is in it for me. We want the best persons, the best people, the best plans, the best policies, and to have the political will to transform Trinidad and Tobago. It has gone on for far too long. This is going to get very nasty. There's going to be a very nasty general election. We have no intention to go down to the gutter. Again, with my concept of ADHD, I play to win, but I don't play dirty, and I don't go under the belt. But when I was commissioner of police, it was a war. It was a war between good and bad. It was a war between a situation of evil elements trying to destroy Trinidad and Tobago. And that was 95+% of good people versus those criminal elements. And I did what I did within the law to peg them back, which is why you would have seen the highest reduction in violent crime in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. In my last year, we went down to 340 odd murders. It kept going down. We would have been going down to less than 200. Now it is over 600. But we're trying to blame the police. You can't blame. These are the same officers that did their job, that stood up there to defend Trinidad and Tobago. And those are the things that we intend to do come 2025, where it is we have something known as the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, 5,000 trained personnel. And when it is we had the COVID, we had the state of emergency, not one came out to help the police. And it's not their fault. These officers wanted to help. They wanted to support. But because of ignorance in the Minister of National Security not knowing his job, unfortunately, here in the present Chief of Defense Staff not even knowing that soldiers are trained in what is known as counter-revolutionary warfare. I was trained in it from UK, and I brought it back, and that is part of the role and function of soldiers in Trinidad and Tobago. The role and function is to assist in an aid to civil power and to protect and support the police service in the performance of their duties, because they are trained in roadblocks, in cordon and search, vehicle checkpoints, something there, Tim? Oh, okay. So sorry about that. So they're trained, but you have a Chief of Defense Staff not knowing that. And then we have something known as an air guard. 700 odd in an air guard, but there's nothing for them to go in the air with. So there's no planes, no helicopters. Common sense. You take the 700 from the air guard, and for the last 5-6 years, they have not been able to be very productive, and it's no fault of theirs. You put them to guard the camps and the stations, so you can now pull out the 2,000-3,000 soldiers who are trained to support the police to come out there. You can't have a state of emergency and not use the defense force. You can't have a situation when 150 men came down into Port of Spain to destroy Port of Spain during the Black Lives Matter, and the defense force was still on standby. That is a lack of leadership. We intend to transform this. We intend to transform a situation where a government is presently putting more effort, more emphasis on trying to stop law-abiding citizens from having legal firearms. 70 police officers assigned for the last year to hunt down, witch hunt, to find anything in the hope that they could play the game of aha, I catch you. And not one Not one person has been assigned specifically to stop illegal guns from entering the country, when 99.5% of murders committed by firearm are by illegal firearms. So you have a government putting focus on legal firearms and law-abiding citizens and nothing about illegal firearms entering the country. So what I'm going to be doing is constantly not just criticizing and condemning, but giving recommendations and state what we intend to do. So that it will be the formation of a border protection unit. A border protection unit will comprise personnel from the police service, Coast Guard, Customs, Immigration, the Army, and all working together to find a way to prevent illegal weapons from entering the country. You plug that, you are now going to prevent more illegal weapons getting in, and that is going to prevent more murders from taking place. And as it pertains to law-abiding citizens getting legal firearms, let me clarify this once and for all. I provided 4,000 firearms to law-abiding citizens out of 50,000 who were outstanding. 50,000. That is not my fault because of the incompetence of others before me who refused to do their job. There were laws, and of that 4,000, 50% would have been given to previous and past and present members of the protective services, inclusive of police officers, soldiers, sailors, customs, fire officers, prison officers, because of an outdated system that said that you cannot take your firearm home when you leave your station. So I was protecting the law enforcement officers. And of those 4,000, so it meant that 2,000 would have been civilians. That is 0.2% of the population, 0.2%. And they had the audacity to try to make it look like a problem. Dozens upon dozens of law-abiding citizens' lives were saved because of what I did. And I have no regrets for it. And in fact, come 2025, I am going to reignite it because it is the right for you to defend yourself if the state is unable to defend you. And in those 4,000 firearms, not one was lost, not one was stolen, not one was used for a crime inclusive of murder in my 3 years because there was a stringent system I put in place. After I left, they pulled the plug as with everything else, and now, when all hell breaks loose, don't blame me, it goes back to when we try to politicize national security. And that must stop. So when you reach a point, we reach a point where a Minister of National Security can actually have the audacity to be so clueless to say that the role and function of the minister is not to come up with a crime plan. So let me start. A crime plan is a crime to commit crime. So let's take that out. The years we've been hearing this nonsense was a crime plan. It is an anti-crime plan. And as a Minister of National Security in a period where it was the highest reduction in serious crime in 20 years, which was 2013 to 2015, the reason being is because that is what leadership is about. You stand up and you accept responsibility, and I intend to do that. Not be a prime minister that now because Gary Griffith is not there and the media is turning to you, you're running out of media conferences and hiding in PM1 because you can't answer the question. And then you have your Minister of National Security stating that is not his work. Well, it is. Because when I was Minister of National Security, I understood my role and function. You are to utilize your limited resources in an effective and efficient manner. You're supposed to analyze the situation and come up with proper strategies, proper policies. The policies are then to be operationalized by the arms of the protective services. As the Commissioner of Police, I made it look too easy for them because what I was doing is utilizing my training as a Minister of National Security to come up with anti-crime policies and then operationalize the same policies that I drafted. But as a Minister of National Security, what I did was form the National Operations Center, the National Security Training Academy, the Energy Security Sector Initiative, which had it remained, those 4 divers may have still been alive. The situation of the National Security Special Operation Group, the Rapid Response Unit, which was similar to the Emergency Response Patrol, that when I left, that patrol had 90 vehicles planted around the country simultaneously, operating at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, GPS tracked, which meant we had a blanket, which is why anytime you had an effective 999 system, which I revamped, and you had an operational command center, which has also been shut down, we were seeing your 999 call, have the vehicle in closest proximity, immediately turn to that distress call. And what do you get? You get a 3 to 5 minute response. What does that mean? The criminals knew I couldn't be involved in home invasion. I can't be involved in kidnappings. I can't be involved in extortion because there's going to be a fast response, a deterrent, a rapid response. Now, someone could shoot someone in residence nightclub, and which is opposite the commissioner's residence, 2 minutes from St. James Station, and in 45 minutes it will take before a police vehicle turns up. Because out of vindictiveness, out of nastiness, out of ego, out of jealousy, out of political manipulation, you decided this will make Gary look good. So let's pull the plug on the National Operations Center, pull the plug on the Emergency Response Patrol, pull the plug on the GPS tracking, pull the plug on the Commissioner's Command Center, pull the plug on the SOS reporting on the phone, pull the plug on the online reporting, pull the plug on 482 Gary. When you do all that, what you have done, you have the country drowning in blood because of your hatred and bitterness for Gary Griffith. Trinidad and Tobago, people here, I ask you, this must stop. We must end the hatred, the bitterness, the animosity, the ego. What we have to do now is to build, unite. And the only way we could do that is this word transformation. The only way we could transform this country is to forget about the politics and do what is right for Trinidad and Tobago. I give you, Trinidad and Tobago, I give you all here the assurance we would turn this around. We would make Trinidad and Tobago as safe as it could be. And I promise you, Trinidad and Tobago, come 18 months' time, the country will have that one word, believe and hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. So, it made me realize something today. You said the Prime Minister is a what? A geologist? Is that why we have all them craters in the road and all them big stone all over the place? So maybe that's the reason why. So, he's doing his job. Anyway, I want to acknowledge two people in the crowd. So I'll ask you to stand, or if you're standing, if you're not already standing, let's come to everybody to see you. I'll ask Norman Dindial. He's also his executive, and he is the coordinator central for the National Transformation Alliance. And I'll ask Brother Tim Timal to come, let the crowd see you. He is the General Secretary of the National Transformation Alliance. So when you call the office, this is the voice that you hear. All right? So thank you, political leader, for your powerful speech. We have reached the point where we have an open forum for anybody who'd like to say something or ask anything. So will anybody want to? Okay, just pass the mic on to. Okay, just give us your name again, and thank you.
Hey, pleasant good night, everyone. It's your boy Shane, out there in the political diaspora for the first time. Those of you all who want to know where I get this catchphrase from, I'm the owner of Builder Boys Construction, and my catchphrase is usually, it's your boy Shane, Builder Boys Construction, out there in the construction matrix. I'm a builder, and I'm here tonight to thank Mr. Griffith. Mrs. Griffith, can I come up on the stage? Yeah. I can hold the mic in my hand. Nice. For the opportunity. Yes. I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to come here tonight to speak. I have never been affiliated with any political party. They don't know me, right? I just saw them. I saw where they were aligned, and they aligned with me. And I slowly started attending the events, and I started to come and take a look at what they had to say. I looked at all the videos, and I said, here, this is the alignment I want to see. Now it's late. It's 7:44. Right? I know a lot of you all here tonight are hungry. And that is good. I'll tell you why that is good. If you're not hungry, you will not get this. You will not get transformation. You all are here tonight, and you could have been home, eating your belly full, but you're here tonight because you're hungry. Are you all hungry? Well, we want change, or we want transformation. To get transformation, you have to be hungry. I'm hungry right now. I'm hungry. I came to these political meetings because I'm hungry. I went up St. Joseph, I come down here, and I'm there with them, left, right, and center, and I never knew them in my life before. Because I am hungry. Now, I'm a builder and I'm a leader. I own a construction company. I have about 30-something employees employed under my wing. So I'm a leader, and I'm a good leader. People who know my Facebook page have 33,000 followers on Facebook. I am not in the political arena, but I have a political background. That being said, if you are a leader and you believe yourself to be a good leader, why would you follow somebody else? Because he's a better leader. You believe he's a better leader. Right. You believe. Mom's got it right. He's a better leader. Michael Jordan was one of the best basketball players in the world, and he had a coach. And he only allowed one person to coach him. Why? because he believed he was a better leader. And that is where I am aligning myself here. No, I'm hungry. Are you hungry? Point 14, are you hungry? Yes. Right, we want change. National Transformation Alliance. It's 3 words and 3 very important words. National. Why the word national? Why not just Point 14 or St. Joseph? Why not just one community we're looking at national? What do you want national? Because we want to change the whole country. If you just change Point 14 alone, only Point 14 go get fixed, but we got to change the whole country because for one, you have to be in government to change. So we're looking at national. Transformation, we're hungry, want change. Let me ask all you a question. If you was doing something for the last 5 years, 5 years, you're doing the same thing over and over and over, and you decide today, I ask you, what do you intend to do for the next 5 years? And you tell me, nothing. I want to stay the same way for the next 5 years. So 5 years down the road, you watch back, where do you think you're going to be? In the same place you was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Mom say, good with the maths. Right. 10 years ago. So that's what's going to happen here. If you all don't, if you're not hungry, and you don't want transformation, you don't want change, you're going to be Point 14, you're going to be the same way it was 5 years ago today, and 5 years from today, you're going to be the same way. So transformation is important. And alliance, we talk about alliance. One man alone ain't going to fix this. You need a team, and you need people to back that team. Yes, that is what we're here for. That is what we're here, and strong minds, people with a voice, and people that could get people to lead, to follow, and people who will lead, and people who will see them as leaders. That's what we need. That's what the youths are here for, right? They are the future. Now, I want to say something about being a builder, because that's what I'm good at. I'm very good at, right? People who know me know the Facebook page and know very well what started all of this with me and the Facebook page. But I want to tell all you something about when I go on a construction site for the first time. It's just land. It's just dirt. There's no house. There's no footprint most times, and the customer comes and they say, hey, we want to build a house. So I come here and I say, come, walk with me. This is your front door. And they're walking with me. Your living room going here. Your kitchen here. 2 bedroom, what you anyone have? 3? You want to put 3 bedroom, 3, 4, 4 bedroom. 4 bedroom house, right? So I click. Well, they have a certain price range for that. But why am I doing that? And why am I doing that here? Because that is what you call vision. You have to see yourself living there before you can build it. You want a better Trinidad and Tobago? You have to put yourself in the position of a better Trinidad and Tobago first in here, in your mind. And know who's going to lead you, know who you're going to follow, and then you start that journey. And this is where it starts. You don't wait till he's the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago to start that journey. Now is the time to start that journey, right? Now is the time. I listen to a lot of motivational videos. Les Brown, those of you all know that, motivational, Les Brown. Jim Rohn, and what's his name again? Tracy. Now, what they say is, as a leader, and I'm sure Mr. Griffith is familiar with this, you put yourself, you see, you're watching a whole set of mountain ranges, the northern range, and you want to be, you hear me? You want to be on top of that mountain down in the end there, and you see yourself journeying all the way to the top of that mountain. That's not the correct way to do it. The opposite is what you do. You need to envision yourself on top of that mountain range at the end of the journey, and you're looking down the hill and you're looking back down to the bottom of the hill. You have to envision yourself already on top of the mountain. And you're looking at the path you take to reach there. That is what you have to do. You have to think of yourself already at the top and looking at the path. Mr. Griffith is here right now at the top of the mountain. He ain't at the bottom. And he's watching each and every constituency, and he's watching each and every individual. And he's saying, here's what we got to do. We got to hit Point 14 and St. Joseph and Manzanilla and wherever we got to go. If we got to go to Tobago, Mr. Griffith, I'm going with you. We're going to Tobago, right? But we're going and do this we're looking at it from the top of the hill, and we know we part, we set all we part, and we're going with it. And I believe. Hashtag, I believe. I don't want to keep all that too long. They say we have a time limit, and I think it's 8 o'clock. We ought to finish, right? But I thought other people to ask questions and all of that too, right? So I just want to tell all you, from the builder's perspective, I want to build. post up everything today on my Facebook page. I only have about nearly 500 likes, about 10,000 views, about 20,000 views already, just from the little photos I post up. And somebody asked me a question, they said, Shane, like you're going up for a seat. I answer them, you could go any responses, and I say, I just come out the top of my head. I say, hear this now. What I tell them, boy? It's not that I'm going up for a seat. The seat doesn't matter. It's where I stand. I stand in here. All right, so point 14, good night. For all you're hungry, all you know where to eat. All right, the National Transformation Alliance. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you very much, Shane. Another powerful speech. So, anybody else have any questions? Have anything to say? The gentleman in the back? Yes, give us your name and...
Good evening, everyone. My name is Curtis Lynch. The Lynch, most people know, Hydrotech, Clifton Hill, but I'm the other side of that Lynch. I struggle, I do my best. What attracted me so much, that A. I view that A as Maslow's hierarchy. The three basic things you need to survive and to progress. But here's the problem. Food is too expensive. Shelter, too expensive. Clothing, too expensive. So that causes stress on that triangle. I spent 16 and a half years in the United States Marine Corps. I did 4 tours, Desert Storm, Desert Strike, Nicaragua. And after I did that, I was so proud to come back to Trinidad to offer my services, along with the bachelor's degree in information, communication, and technology, for people to watch me like, you're overqualified. Nah, you're the Yankee. Touchdown here. What happened to your U.S.? How come you're looking for a job in Trinidad? The late, great Eric Williams said, let them go, learn, and come back to build the country. It was so strange. Today, when I saw you coming through, I had a choice. I could have not went to work to earn enough money to provide. But I did go, and by God's good grace, I saw you guys coming through. I have mango trees galore. I give them away left, right, and center. And the ironic thing was after I gave away the mangoes, a couple of neighbors from the ketchup group and from the mustard group came. The first question out their mouth, how much money you give you? Give me for what? Well, I see you give away real mango, you give away cutlass, you give away starch, you give away doodles. I said, there was no price to that. We can't eat it all. And we have that 1% in this country ruling 99%. Something is definitely wrong. And I feel so strong through Gary, through Nicole Griffith, Gary's wife, that I want to give whatever needs to be given so that 2025 we can start that transformation. And not meaning to be long-winded, real quick, some of the names I'm going to throw out there were the benchmarks names in Point Fortin. Melvina St. Louis, Audrey Lynch, Ivo Roberts, the school feeding program, the Mignonet school feeding program. I was the box lunch man. From the days when we had to provide lunch for Fanny Village School, for Junior, for Captiville School, I was the person toting the little box to make sure the kids could eat and they could provide for it. And what we have now, we have more bars than churches. We have more bars than community centers. We have community centers that have been built and they're like a dollhouse, but there's nothing in the dollhouse. If you go to the MP's office, they know me like the back of my hand. But the first thing they say about me when I leave, oh, he's a madman. He crazy, he this, he that. But who won't be crazy if you can't afford to eat right, live right, and clothe themselves right? So this transformation has to start. It's not a matter of when and if. It has to start. And Gary and all the people who came to speak, I'm here, use me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful contribution. Anyone else in the crowd would like to? Sir, can you please stand, state your name?
Pleasant good night, everyone. And special good night to Mr. Guy Griffith. My name is Asentel Sylvan. I've been saying so much for a while now. Still have so many to say, but wouldn't like to say so much tonight. I've been a sojourner with God on my journey of life ever since I know myself. Also a survivor in my country like everyone else. Also a champion. Proud to say that. Right. Nice. Most important, I like to say I'm proud of everyone that has been working hard and going out of their ways to make our country a better place. Special thanks to everyone, also myself. I'd also like to include that I am proud to be a part of this tonight and beyond tonight. Special love to everyone. I hope you accept me from the ground and let God guide our path into where we should go from here. Sila. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Can you bring the mic up in front, please?
I must say a pleasant good night to each and everyone that gathered here tonight. My political leader in waiting. Oh, you're already there. Miss Nicole Dyer, I would say you are my goddaughter. Your mother and each and everyone that gathered here tonight, that come from far and near. I stand here to say that I am proud of Mr. Gary Griffith. When he was the National Security, I always used to pray for him and ask God to guide him and protect him. And I want you and the party to win the next election, local and big. My prayer and my wish for the new year to God, I'm talking the truth, was for the PNM to lose the next general election. And my wishes don't go in vain. And I know that they will lose, and they will lose, and they will lose. That's a starting point for them. Lose in Point Fortin, because you know, Point Fortin, PNM, I go there at PNM. No, we are dying no PNM in Point. We're going to get the victory. Let me see the name of the thing there, please. With the National Transformation Alliance. The victory will come with that party, and we're going to start it in Point Fortin. And I would ask Ms. Nicole Dyer to be the candidate. To be the candidate. We would work with you. I'm working with a cane, but I will have to throw with the cane and walk. On Christ, the solid rock, I stand. All of the ground is sinking sand from Nicole Dyer to find this seat here. I thank you all and be safe in going back, because you know Satan, the busy adversary, is outside. This is the prayer and this is the wishes for the party. I thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone have any questions? Or again, like to say, the political leader here is to answer your question. If you all have any, come on. Okay. All right, so.
It's all right.
All right, so somebody back, sorry.
Hold on, sorry. There you go, my friend.
I just wanted to ask, how do you plan to stop the guns from coming into this country?
Well, the first thing, as it pertains to illegal weapons entering the country, that is what should have happened from day one. But unfortunately, the obsession by the present administration of legal firearms, they are not doing their job. First one has to do with the word alliance. When I was Minister of National Security and Commissioner of Police, it's obvious that the weapons are entering here illegally. So the weapons are coming from another country. What you have to do is to form a strategic alliance with your international allies. That is what I did. I formed a relationship with the NYPD. Trinidad and Tobago Police Service was twinned with the NYPD. That's the New York Police Department. I met with the New York Police. I met with the Chief of Police in Miami, because those are the two main ports where the illegal weapons will enter. So what happens in Miami, in United States? Anything that enters the United States, they check every container. If it leaves, they don't care. So the responsibility is on us. So, but what they can do is work with us. So through information, through Interpol, through the DEA and other agencies, they will now be able to work with us because we have a relationship. That relationship has been severed since I left as Commissioner of Police. So what I'll be doing is reigniting that relationship with Miami. And it is not just for them to tell us about weapons. If there are criminal elements here that leave Trinidad to get across to Miami or New York, we inform them, so they will monitor them, see where they are going, see who they will liaise with, so that we can pinpoint and get what is known as predictive policing, anticipating the problem before it can ignite. So that is the first thing. The second has to do with technology. As the Commissioner of Police, I understood the failure by the Ministry of National Security, Minister, in not putting use of technology to deal with illegal firearms. So what I did was utilize the funds I had, even though the Minister of Finance reduced the budget to me as a Commissioner of Police by $240 million, yet I was still able to ensure that the police service performed effectively by doing certain things as reducing overtime corruption by $240 million. By doing that, I was able to establish and acquire what were known as mobile scanners. These scanners were fully operationalized before I left, and it was able to go in front by any container and pinpoint and see if you can find weapons in the containers. As soon as I left, they pulled the plug. It gives reason to believe that there are certain persons in authority who want this to happen. You cannot be that incompetent to say that this is Gary's thing, so we are not going to use it. So the second has to do with technology, where you have the type of technology through scanners and radar, you can pinpoint and see a weapon inside. The third has to do with what I spoke about, the formation of a border protection unit. The border protection unit is critical. The police service, if someone is actually escaping and jumps over into the port, the police cannot go there. That is like a different country. They have no authority. That allows the perception, well, the greater possibility of corruption. Because if you have one arm of the protective services, that being customs or whoever, having full access, it allows that opportunity to take place. Trinidad and Tobago, 10 containers average annually disappear from the ports. Disappear. Listen to my words. So the police usually seize about 800 firearms per annum. 800, which is good. So they are doing their job. After 10 years, that's 8,000 illegal guns that we seize. But one container can have 10,000 firearms. So what the police would have done in 10 years, it comes to nothing in one night if a container leaves the port illegally. So you could just have to have one corrupt customs officer, one corrupt stevedore, one corrupt person by the departure gate of the port, and all of a sudden 10,000 illegal firearms can leave because you have 10 containers missing every single year. By the border protection unit, you will have the guards guarding the guards. You will have representatives from police, from Coast Guard, the Army, Customs, and Immigration. You have all of them now working together, fully polygraphed, in the port, as well as having undercover officers that even the uniform officers would not know. This is where we'll be able to get the intelligence to pinpoint and ascertain where these things can, how it is entering the country and how it is getting out. So those are just three things. There are several other aspects that I am fully aware of to prevent illegal weapons from entering the country, but for obvious security reasons, I'm not going to expose it. Those things I could expose because there's nothing that the individuals could do. Why it is not being done? It is either incompetence or deliberate reason because this criminal activity is big business and big money, which is why there was also that strong need to have me removed. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Thank you, Mr. Griffith. We are here to the end of the program. We run out of time. So before I just bring the vote of thanks, I just want to say one thing pertaining to Shane's speech. When I was a very young guy and I left school early, right? And things was very tough. And you see what he talked about transformation? I was also hungry. And I transformed myself. Today, I have my own business as well. I'm an architectural designer. And right now, I won't give you the whole history because it would take too long. After step after step after step, I am going after my master's degree in construction management. So if I could do it, and I am here to help the political leader redesign Trinidad and Tobago and build it back from scratch. And we are going to do it come 2025. The NTA is going to be in government. Thank you very much, everyone. I would like to welcome Ms. Simone Kisun back on stage to give us the vote of thanks. And I would like to wish everybody to be home safely. And thank you guys for coming out today. Okay?
Hi, good evening. I would like to thank you all for being here with us for the entire day. I know it's been a long day and we have to get home safely. But I'll leave you with this. It is not joy that makes us grateful. What makes us grateful? It is gratitude that makes us joyful. So it brings me great joy this evening to share our gratitude with you. I love to see the sea of blue. We are surrounded by blue oceans in this country. So I would like to thank our speakers this evening. Ms. Chantel Alexander, are you still here? She touched me because as a mom of 3 girl teenagers, I can relate to exactly the issues that she was talking about today that is touching each and every one of us in this country. Dr. Saran, Director of Youth Progression, a very transformational TikToker, influencer. Mr. Errol Fabian, Director of Communications at NTA, Director of Communications, for sharing with us the importance of just having basic love and respect for each other. There is no Indian, there is no African. When I travel, I say, I am a Trini. They watch me, they say, where is Trini? I say, it's off the coast of Venezuela. So you speak Spanish? No, I speak Trini. Okay? Thank you to Ms. Lorraine Pouchet, the NTA Deputy Political Leader, whose focus was on a very strong passion of mine as well, on families. And today, in this country, we are certainly facing a lot of trauma in families. And I think a lot of the problems that we are facing with the youth that are going towards the crime is because of lack of leadership within the families. So in order to bring change, it starts with us as parents, as brothers, as sisters, as grandparents. We need to bring back the youth, bring back the leadership that starts at home. I thank Mr. Gary Griffith, our political leader, for inspiring us today, the man to lead us to transformation of this country, and we can only do that with our help. He needs us to help him. And as he said, he's putting the best in order to get the best. So I will save and I will thank Miss Nicole Dyer Griffith. For now, for her very passionate powerhouse of a speaker. And I will remind you all what she said this evening. It is time for us to what? To get up, stand up, believe, and what was the last part? Do the work, right? We have to be ready to do the work. I'd also like to thank Miss Kathleen Dyer for all our sustenance for today. She has provided us with lunch, lovely lunch and sandwiches, and her endless support in building up to today as well as throughout the day. Miss Taylor, I saw Miss Taylor, I don't know your first name. You were at the back making sure that the washrooms were prepared for us all. Yes, I thank you for that. Mr. Hubert Williams for providing us access and use of this community center and for his tireless support, again, as well building up to today's event. And a special thank you to some of the key organizers of making today such a successful event. Again, it's a team that came together to make this happen. Mr. Errol Fabian, a Point Fortin man, as you heard today, a baby from here, Mrs. Tishana Griffith-Bain, Mr. Tim Timal, Johnny Dyer, Susan Dyer, Diane Bailey, Ms. Keisha Grant, Mrs. Alicia Mahabir and her husband, Dennis. Did I get that right? Yes? And then I believe there's many of your Dyer family here. So if I missed anyone, thank you all for making this happen. Not much, again, I'm so joyful. See how much I have to be grateful for. So, Stephen and his team behind there, thank you so much for his team at OMG Media for the videography and live stream if we're live today. Dr. Rondon Ramlal, you would have seen him on the road with us, videographer. The last piece that he put together for us touched me dearly. My heart wanted to pop out of my chest when I saw what he did. Wonderful, wonderful. And he's a doctor, medical doctor. This is his passion. So I would also like to thank, behind us here is Nigel and Neil Gibson of Point Fortin for providing us with the PA system today. And he says he also prints T-shirts, right, Nicole? He prints T-shirts. I would also like to thank the drivers who have gotten us here safely today and hopefully getting us safely back to our destinations. And the TTPS. I am so grateful that they came out to us today, with us today for the very strong and I must say very courteous escorts for today. Thank you. And if I missed anyone, no, I leave the best for last. I would like to thank our host for this evening, Mr. Insaf Inaitullah, who went on the fly. That's the way he will usually do his best on the fly here. Thank you so much. He's also the NTA Coordinator East, and I think he represents the heart of what NTA represents. And as I started off this evening with the prayer, I said we need to work from the heart, speak from the heart. Everything is from there, and from that way, with that, we will be able to achieve exactly what we are saying here. So thank you all, and get home safely.